recording. So for people at home, if you guys don't hear me, my mic is a Bluetooth mic. So if the battery goes dead, I have a second thing here. So just let me know. Just unmute yourself and speak. All right. And then I would just swap that bass out, and then everything will be fine. All right. And all of these classes will be recorded and will be posted. All right. Don't worry, people at home, your face is not going to be shown, so don't worry about that. However, for anybody that misses class, hopefully these will go up. The only downside is this. Since we're in hurricane season, there are storms, there are lightning, there's thunder. There's also power outages. So this past summer, one of my best lectures in pre-calc was being recorded, and then power went out. So the people who missed class missed that lecture because they were hoping for the live lecture to come out. So do it at your own risk. All right? All right. So next thing, I'm going to ask you guys, for the ones that never had me before, the ones that had me before, they're going to hopefully use the Canvas homepage because they've already been using the Canvas homepage. Hopefully they keep on using it. Now, for the rest of you guys who've never had me before, please use this Canvas homepage. Please do not use a to-do list on the far right-hand side, because then you're going to be uninformed about everything else, which the right word would be ignorant about everything else. All right? So this is your Canvas homepage for pre-calc. So everything that you need is here. Everything. There's only one button here that is bad, no good anymore, which is the MyLab and Mastering. So we're not going to talk about that. So if you want to join class virtually, then click on the button that says Join Class Virtually. Make sense? So if you click on that button, it will direct you right into here. I only teach pre-calc once, which is from 12 to, bless you, oh, that's a bad time, 12 to 120, okay? That's the only time I teach it, all right? So now, if you click here any other time, you'll be in the wrong class. Like some of you guys have already experienced, which is okay, no big deal. Sometimes we need a little review for intermediate algebra, you know? It happens. So that's where you would click onto. MyLab and Mastering. So we no longer do MyLab and Mastering the same way that we did before, okay? It has changed for everyone, so I need to change that button. So essentially, what you need to do is this. Over on the left side here, this column right here where it's under Home, Simple Syllabus, Access Pearson, that column is called a navigation menu, okay? In the navigation menu, you see BibliU course materials. If you click on that, you will see the textbook for this class, okay? When you click on the textbook for this class, it doesn't give you the textbook. It just gives you the access code for this class, okay? So you click on the access code, you copy the access code, and then you go up to Access Pearson, you click on that, right? You would do the whole agreement thing, blah, 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 and then you're going to enter the access code there, okay? BibliU, access code, Access Pearson, enter your access code. Got it? Okay? So that is your step to getting your textbook. So you're not purchasing it from the bookstore anymore, you're just doing that. Okay? We cut out the middleman. All right? So that's something I got to change with that button. That means I got to create a whole new button and then import it and all that stuff. All right. For the people, yes?
So what if you activate your temporary access before going to BlueU?
Your access code is still there, so it's okay. So after the you'll have to wait until the 14 days is up, right? Unless there's a purchase option on the left-hand side in MyLab and Mastering. I think there is a purchase option on the left. If you click on that, you might be able to enter your access code. I'm not sure. But if not, you'll have to wait till 14 days over and then throw the access code in there. Okay? Cool? All right. Welcome. Were you waiting for me to yell at you? Wow. You guys all have really bad experiences. All right. So the next one is for the people at home that never had me before, might not know where this classroom is. On Collier Campus N102, you might not know where the heck that is. Well, great. On the home page, there is a Collier Campus N102 where the lectures and the exams are. If you click on it, guess what? There's a map. It's done through Google Maps. So down here is where you guys usually drive in, right? You guys drove here, and then you stopped right here, and you took a right, and then you parked somewhere here or somewhere here to come into this room, right? If you drive past this building, you're driving into faculty parking. So if you're parking in the faculty parking right now, please stop parking in the faculty parking, okay? I'm just going to ask you guys that, right? And some of you guys said, well, there's no sign. I wouldn't know it was faculty parking. Actually, there is. There's a sign right here. 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 And there's a sign right here. And those are small. Those are like those handicap signs, right? They're pretty small. And they're purple, so it's hard to see. I understand. But there's also a big sign right here, about yay big, that says you're entering faculty parking. Now, I would accept the fact that I didn't read that sign. That's believable, because I'm just as guilty. Sometimes I don't read the signs, I miss it. And I'll be like, there's no sign. And they're like, how about this? You're like, oh, I didn't read the sign. Fair enough. But now that you know, hopefully you guys will make better decisions out of respect for me. Okay? So parking and faculty parking for you guys is like me parking in your driveway when there's an event close to your house. I'm just going to put a sign down, parking here, $10. I'll just collect $10 and put it in my pocket and then go to the event. You'd be like, why would you do that? I'll be like, there's so much space. Why wouldn't I? Right? You'd be pissed off because you guys can't get out. Your parents would be pissed off because people are driving on your lawn, right? So, and they get no money for it. They're going to be upset. Well, yes, because it's your property. It's your driveway. It's not mine. Same thing with faculty parking. It's for the faculty. It's not for you. All right? It is tough to look at your parking and going, wow, everybody's here. Oh, my goodness. And then go look at the faculty parking. Wow, it looks really empty. Why can't I just park there? I understand. I would love to park at your driveway when there's an event close to your house too. But I can't. It's not my place to park. Okay? So that's all I'm asking for. All right? But anyways, N102. It says Chan's classroom right here. N102. Don't go to the roof. There's nobody there. There's no classroom there. There's no chairs there. It's just very warm. Okay? So what's underneath there on the first floor is N102. Okay? That's where my classroom is. All right? Building M is where all the adaptive services are, testing center, bookstore, advisors, registrars, financial aid, everything else is in there. Math center used to be in building J, is now in building G, so you want any kind of student support in terms of math center or the writing center, it's in building G with the library. Okay? My office is in building F. Chances are I'll be in this room instead. This classroom was made for me, so therefore I'm going to spend most times here. On Monday and Wednesday, I teach here from 10 to 4:30. And on Tuesday, Thursday, I teach here from 10 to 4. So it's not like I have a lot of time to get to my office anyways. And then the last building that I want to point out is A101. That is where the IT help desk is. The IT help desk is good for two things. And in fact, if you go out these doors right here, and underneath the staircase, if you look in that direction, you'll see a door with a letter A on it. That is the door you want to go through. So if you walk out this window right here, that sidewalk will walk you directly to that building. Right? What is the IT help desk for? Great question. It's for two things. One, if you want to take your exams remotely, number one, we take it at the same time as a class. Okay? And I proctor it live while proctoring the class. I don't use ProctorU nor Proctorial. Okay? Everything is proctored at the same time. So everybody's taking the exam at the same time. All right? So what are your requirements? You need an external webcam, a computer, a whiteboard, a dry erase marker, something to erase with. It could be a dry paper towel if you want to. Right? External webcam. I'm not sure if IT is still giving them away. But if they are, you can at least ask. If they are, they'll give you one for free. Till death do you part, that is. Meaning not your death, their webcam's death. All right? When the webcam dies or you crush it or you throw it across the room, then it's on you. Then you will have to buy one on your own. Okay? Be careful, there's a bag right there. And the external webcam is an external webcam, not the one that's connected to your laptop or your computer. This is the external webcam. You have to connect it with a USB port. What I'm using right here is a webcam, okay? So that is what you can use. Now, typically, the cable on the webcam doesn't go very far, but because your setup needs to look like this. So your external webcam has to show your face, your hands, your workspace, meaning your whiteboard, your calculator, and your computer screen, and your keyboard, okay? All within it, all right? Now, when you get access, and that's why I brought up IT Help Desk, is for the webcam, all right? Because if you don't have one, you can ask for one. If they say no, we don't do that anymore, at least you know that you need to find one when it's on sale, okay? And then right here, like I said, I still prefer that you guys all take it in class, in person, if possible. I understand that some of you guys might have to do it remotely because I've had students in Miami. I've had students in the Cape, in Port Charlotte. I've had students all over the place. So I understand that, okay? When you and I speak about you taking it remotely, then you'll have access to the exam in time so that you guys can actually click on that button right there. So you're not going to take class through Zoom. You're going to take, you're not going to take the exam through Zoom. You're going to take exam through class, a program called Class. So you're going to class into class to take the exam, okay? So I will have class running on one screen that the class won't see, and I'll have Zoom running on one screen that the class can see, okay, while I'm proctoring, all right? So, and then here's some other information that you need to know, all right? So again, that's the reason why I brought up the IT Help Desk, all right? The other reason for IT Help Desk is this next one, is the Florida Southwestern State College Wi-Fi, all right? So if you're currently on the guest Wi-Fi, guess what, guys? That Wi-Fi is actually for guests and visitors, all right? So the problem with that Wi-Fi is that there's not a lot of bandwidth to that. That's why if you're not using it, you get kicked out. Someone else is using it. Now you got to re-register to try to get back into it, okay? It's like taking 75 and compacting it to one lane. The traffic's going to be awful, right? It's going to be really slow, right? That's exactly what's going to happen. Even if you're taking an off-ramp, someone else is coming onto the on-ramp, right? So that is the issue with bandwidth with a guest Wi-Fi. You should be on the Florida Southwestern State College Wi-Fi because that is like taking 75 and making it to 10 lanes, right? A lot faster on the traffic. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still going to be people that's driving 105 and also 45, right? And in Florida, somehow we will create a traffic jam with 10 lanes. But that has more bandwidth, so more likely that you'll just stay on there, okay? Now, the username for Florida Southwestern State College is your Bucks email, which is your portal username at bucks.fsw.edu. Yep, okay? And then your password is your portal password. Now, if your portal password has any personal information in it, like James Chan, 1974, then it's going to not let you in. So you have to go to the IT Help Desk to change your password so that you can get into the Wi-Fi. And if you have other issues like password, you can't take care of the settings on your phone, so they can help you with that. And if you click on that link, it will go to the IT Help Desk to show you how to connect to certain things in case if there's special things to be done, okay? And then the 3 truths. The 3 truths is what I'm going to ask you guys also at the end of the semester to submit 3 truths as well. The 3 truths is that I've asked the last couple of semesters the students who are willing to share their 3 suggestions to put forth to you guys, like their last will and testament to my future students on what things you ought to do to be successful in my classes. Okay? So obviously it's not only for pre-calc, but it is for every single one of my classes. Pretty much how I run 1033, intermediate algebra, how I run pre-calc is pretty much the same. Okay? It's not really much different. Right? So please feel free to read the 3 truths so that you guys know exactly what's going on. Underneath that, you see attendance verification. You guys are going to have to do that for every single one of your classes once, all right, for the semester. All right? So please get that done. Syllabus, you can click on syllabus or you can click on simple syllabus on the navigation menu. Either way, you're going to get the same syllabus. Apps to download, if you click on that, you'll see apps that I suggest on your phone as well for your scanner, and then for your laptop, okay? A couple of ones I want to point out. If you have not yet bought a calculator, you can have a free calculator. Desmos Test Mode is free. It has 4-function calculator. It has a scientific calculator. It also has a graphing calculator. The only calculator that it does not have that a graphing calculator does have is a matrix calculator. However, it's not going to be that much helpful anyways. It's not going to be helpful at all. Okay? So it's not necessarily a disadvantage to have Desmos versus your calculator. But again, it is up to you what you want to use. Okay? Desmos I am allowing on the exams as well. So if you guys have the Wi-Fi capability right now and you want to download Desmos, you'll see it's a blue shield. Any other Desmos that you search for, it's going to be green. Those are not it. It has to be the blue shield. Okay? The other app I want to bring up is Remind. Remind is an app that I'm going to send an invitation out probably next week after the ad drop, because when I talk about the lab work, some of you guys are going to be like, I'm out, see ya, bye. So I'll send it out next week after the ad drop date. All the Remind app is for is that in case, as we're going through notes, if you want an example or wanted a part of the notes to be sent to you, you would just ask me to take a shot of that, send it on to Remind, and whoever's on Remind will get that attachment. I'll just take a screenshot from my iPad, crop it, and send it. All right? Some of you guys are used to taking pictures on your phone. That's certainly fine too, except if you're taking it from the side, it's just going to be slanted anyways, right? And my eyes are the only ones that's going to be able to see it actually straight. Hopefully people got that joke. And plus, if you want to get back to those notes, you're going to have to like scroll through like 50 selfies to get there. So why bother with that? Just stay with your selfies, all right? And then the scanners, there is going to be a tutorial for that. You guys are welcome to watch those videos, but I will tell you where those are at, all right? Because you guys are students of FSW, you guys have a free membership to Microsoft 365, which, if you guys look at it, the app or the program that keeps on coming up in all 3 things is OneDrive, because it's a cloud service. So, and on your phone and your iPad, it becomes a scanner. So as a scanner, or a scanner for your PDF, when you scan it, name it, it gets dumped right into the cloud, and then you can pull that up on any computer you want. Okay? So that is apps to download. And then last but not least is the grade calculator, which I will talk about that after exam 2. Okay? After exam 2. All right? So what should you expect? Week 1 is a mess. You're going to see it as a mess. All right? So this is a big fat mess. So everything in week 1, guys, is mostly a review. Okay? Mostly is a review. Now, what I did here is I did put together the 2 live lectures that I did this summer for this part, right? What I talked about for the first week. These are 2 lectures. You're welcome to watch those lectures, okay? And in fact, this is right now recorded, so that will be posted here as well. Obviously, it's not going to say May 14th or May 16th. It's going to say August 20th, okay? So you guys will know the difference between those 2, and most likely I'm going to put it up here anyways, all right? So if you don't want to go through all these notes, that's certainly fine. You guys can do it right here, all right? So how do I want to do this? Do I want to get through here, or do I want to, no, you know what? Let's go to week 2. It might be a better scenario there. Yeah, week 2 is a better scenario. Okay, so week 2 here, it's a better scenario because it's going to be consistent. Week 1 is a mess. Week 2 becomes a little bit less of a mess, okay? So week 2, or every single week that you look at this, you're going to see reminder dates on top. So last added drop date is August 26th. And then you see the lectures. So these are pre-recorded. So you guys can look at the notes for 4.1. Here's the PDF notes of 4.1. Okay? And then over here on the right will be the video for those said notes as well. Okay? So notes and videos are already done. All right? So now I've had students that have watched the videos before coming to class. They have been very successful with that. You guys are welcome to do that. You're welcome to not do that. It's up to you guys. Okay? So same thing with 4.2, 4.3, and so on and so forth. Okay? There are blanks. Some of my notes do have blanks. So in case if you want to print this out, because obviously this is a lot of copying, or you're welcome to download it and then put it, import it into your iPad. This way you can copy it that way, whatever you guys want to do. Okay? So these are just blanks rather than, and then some things are missing, and that's about it. That's the only difference, okay? So every single week, you're going to have 2 assignments. Every single week, you're going to have 2 assignments. Every single week, you're going to have 2 assignments. One is the MLM. Those are always due on Saturday at 6 p.m. The MLM assignments is what I was talking about with the access code. MLM is self-grading. It's by the publisher Pearson, which is a third-party entity. So I have nothing to do with it. It self-grades, self-submits. So if you were to open an assignment that has 10 problems, and you did one correctly, and you're like, oh crap, I got to go to work, you shut your computer down, you go, that means you've done one question correctly. So that's 10%. It's going to post that 10%. You're going to freak out, and you're going to message me going, but I wasn't done with that homework. Okay. And? I didn't grade it. It wasn't me. So as long as you go back in before the due date and get the rest of it done, the grade would go up. Okay? So I have nothing to do with MLM, but you can click on those links, and it'll bring you to that assignment so that you can do that assignment. Everything on this list is everything that's due this week, or week 2 in this case. Okay? You'll see the same thing in week 1. Right? And then there's reminders on the bottom of when the exams are. Yours is September 5th. All right? But let me go back to week 1 so that I can show you what the lab work looks like. And notice that these are just review assignments. So these are assignments that you should already know. So I will almost tell you not to even look at the notes and just go in and just to see how much you remember. All right? And if you don't remember something, then review it. So that's what I would tell you. All right. The other assignment is lab work. Now notice that the due date is different. The reason why MLMs are due Saturday at 6 p.m. is because, number 1, Saturday, so that everybody can have a Sabbath on Sunday. Okay? 6 p.m. because I'll be sleeping by 8. And if it was due at midnight, you're going to message me at about 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. and I'll be in Sleepy Town, and you won't get a reply, and you're going to be pissed because you didn't get a reply. So that's why I make it 6 p.m. so that you might message me at 4. I might actually answer you. Okay? And my phone is on Do Not Disturb. That starts at 6. All right? So that's why I did Saturday at 6 p.m. Now, the lab work used to be a due date of Saturday at 6 p.m. as well. But what I found was that people will open the lab work on Friday and then freak out because they don't know what to do. They'll start messaging me. Well, here's the problem with messaging me. That's great. So now, instead of answering once for 35 students, I'm now answering 35 students 35 times on that one problem. Does that make sense? Okay. So I'm trying to force your hand to open the lab work before class starts or ends on Thursday. I'm hoping that when you leave Thursday's class, every single one of your questions on the lab work, you understand exactly what you need to do. So the only thing you got to do is finish it up, recopy if you need to, and then submit it. Is that fair? That's why I made it Friday at 6 p.m., the day after your last day with me. Okay? All right, so what the heck is the lab work? So let me go ahead and click on the lab work so you guys can see what the heck a lab work is. There it is. All right, so the lab work is up to 10 problems. That means it could be 5 problems, it could be 6, it could be 7, it could be 8, it could be 9, it could be 10. All right, especially for pre-calc. I usually look at how much work needs to be done is how many problems I put in. All right, if there's a lot of work for each problem, then I'm going to give you less problems. All right, so this one here, I have no idea, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, this one's 10, okay? So you guys notice there's 10 problems here, and I also gave you the answers, all right? So in other words, I gave you the starting point, I gave you the destination, right? You just need to show me how you got from the destination, from the starting point to the destination. The problem that we have these days with math especially is that you guys have programs like Mathway, Photomath, Math Papa, Tiger Algebra, all those sites, right? To be able to cheat. Now, here's the thing. If you read point 4 here, it says, are highly encouraged to assist you to solving problems. So why would I highly encourage it? If that's a way that you guys can cheat. I encourage it because if your work looks like the work that it gave you, then you better add something. Because how am I going to tell if they have the same things on their paper that one person cheated and the other person didn't? I can't tell. I don't want to assume that they cheated either. Okay? So I'm not going to assume. So I've decided to do one other thing. But before I talk about that, I want you guys to look at this piece right here. Because if you notice that on the lab work, it was all multiple choice, wasn't it? Well, I don't want you to use the choices to find the answer. So you have to pretend that all 10 of those questions are open-ended questions. And the purpose of the lab work isn't just to know that you know how to do these problems, but more importantly, for me to take the open-ended questions away from the exam. I'd rather the open-ended questions be open notes. Does that make sense? To be done as a group work if necessary. So that the exam could be 25 multiple choice questions and no open-ended questions. Is that fair? So, however, I need you guys to be honest and actually do this with just your notes. You're right. Sometimes what comes out of my mouth sounds Chinese to you. I understand that too. Okay? So you might need some assistance. So for me, I would prefer, in fact, me and the pre-calc class this past summer talked a lot about this, was actually using ChatGPT, using AI. I'd rather that you ask AI questions. Because chances are, AI is going to explain a lot of things the way I explain it as well. Okay? And if you have questions, ask it. If you don't understand something that it's put out to you, ask it. If it doesn't look like something I've taught you, tell it to teach it at a pre-calc level. Right? Because if someone starts to, we're not going to be doing limits. If it starts talking about limits, guess what? You're in the wrong wrong place. Okay? You're in the wrong place. All right? I don't have a problem with that. Again, if a work looks like that work, add something. The other thing I've decided to do is that I've created an example of what you guys can do. This is what I do expect, that you're going to have two sections here. Obviously, this is an intermediate algebra problem, not your problem. You're not going to get this problem. This is way too simple of a problem for you. Okay? The left side is your work for the problem. The right side, the right third, is going to be a section called what we know. Okay? So what do we know? Or what we know. What do we know, what we know? Same difference. So the what we know would be what part of the notes that was written that you guys use to help solve this problem. Is that fair? Now, I don't even have a problem with you guys asking chat saying, hey, what are the 3 things I need to know to do this problem? Because here's the bottom line. You still got to read it. You still got to write it. Hopefully, if it says Christopher Columbus founded Spain in 1973, you're like, that's not right. Does that make sense? Never heard that before. Hopefully you can find the BS out of the things, okay? So here's 2 examples of it, right? Pretty simple problems so that you guys can see the details that I'm asking for in terms of what we know. I'm going to guess Mathway and Photomath doesn't have that section, right? And you put some BS over here, guess what? I know that you cheated here. That part of the cheating, I'm not going to report you guys for. But I am definitely going to take away points for. Okay? Any questions on that? None? Now, if you guys want to, I created 2 templates for it. You guys don't need to print these out. You guys can just put in your notebook the right third, write it, draw it down, and go. But for people who have iPads and stuff like that, you guys can download this and put it in there. One's line paper, one's graph paper. That's the only difference between the 2. Again, I'm just throwing it in there just so that some people would like printing them out. Go, great, awesome, do it. Okay, but not everybody wants to do that. They want to just throw it in, right in their notebook. Go for it. Okay. My other suggestion, because you guys are going to be showing a lot of work, is that you ought to write on one side of the paper and not both. Because the pressing of the pen on a softer surface is going to press through, where when you scan it, it's going to look like it's going to interfere with the work on the other side. Okay? And then down here is how you would scan, and here's where the 3 videos are. Now, don't get me wrong. These 3 videos were done during COVID times. All right? I just moved into the house. The only thing I had in the house was 1 couch, 1 bed. That's it. The only room that can muffle any noise, any echoes, was my closet. So I took the table that I built, dragged it into the closet. The only thing that had a white black background was a black T-shirt. So that's what I used. So you're going to see a chubby Chinese guy trying to show you guys how to do this. So I haven't watched these videos in a long time. So if there's anything missing, please advise and help me to better this video, okay, or these videos. All right. So, so notice that when I opened up the lab work, that it was 1 file. It didn't say lab work 1, page 1, lab work 1, page 2, lab work 1, page 3, right? It's 1 file. There was 3 pages to it. So I expect the same thing from you guys. So I'm hoping that those videos would teach you exactly that. How to combine multiple pages as 1 file so that when you submit it, it's good to go. Okay? Any questions on that? So, yes? It doesn't have to be 3 things. No, it could be whatever is needed to. No. No. I guess minimum 1, yeah, would be good. Minimum 1 would be good. 0 would be bad. Yes?
Do you prefer the what we know section to be on the other side of the work, or can we do it below it?
I prefer on the side because most likely what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be, when I'm grading them, I'm going to be looking at the what we know more than the work itself. The work is more of like small things. Like how did you go from 3 minus 2 and get 5? Right? Like those small things that I'm going to really look at. The what we know, because here's the thing. If you know what to do, but you did minor mistakes, then I know that you're good to go. Right? It's just minor things. But if you're what we know, for example, so someone was trying to FOIL. So binomial raised to the second power, right? I got to do it from your end. So binomial raised to the second power. They did the problem. The what we know, they use a times b raised to the nth power is a to the n times b to the n, which is exponents. Has nothing to do with FOILing. So to me, guess what? Clearly they cheated. Because that has nothing to do with this problem. Make sense? Right? So I got to make sure that what you know is true. It's good. Then I know your problem is probably going to be right. The question is, where was the bump in the road that made it wrong? Right? Now, if you guys get the wrong answer, don't say, oh, the right answer is this. Okay, great, but why did you get this answer? If the answer is 3, don't say, well, 5 plus 2 equals 3, because 3 is the answer. Well, that's not what you got. So clearly something went wrong. Where is it that went wrong? Is that fair? Okay. Any other questions? Now, guys, I want to remind you that I'm only grading one problem. One problem. Every single week. One is because I have so many students. I have about 35 students times 6 classes. So you guys can do the math there. It's a lot of students. Okay? So I'm only going to grade one problem. But that is real life, isn't it? We're going to do like 9 things really well. Right? We did not speed 9 times out of 10. We were good drivers. And then one time we happened to hit the gas a little heavy is the time that we got pulled over. Right? And we're like, crap, the one time. It happens in life all the time. We do all these good things, but the one time that we didn't, we got caught. And it happens. And people are going to think that I picked on them. It is not them. Literally, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to open Google and hit number generator. And it always defaults to 1 through 10. And I was like, generate. Number pops up. And I was like, okay, I'm grading this for every single one of my classes. And that's all I do. Now, it might be the Holy Spirit that made it that number because Susie Q decided not to do number 5. And number 5 popped up. Or Susie Q decided to do number 5 incorrectly, and that was the only one that popped up. It could happen that way. But it's not me going through the lab work and trying to find one that Susie Q didn't do, and then I'm going to pick on her. That's not the case. Okay? So please don't think of it that way. I know it's not quite fair because you could do 9 of them right and did 1 of them wrong, and that happens to be the one I grade. I understand that. And there's the reason why I'm trying to force your hand to open it on Monday and start looking at it and going, I know how to do these problems, but I don't know how to do these problems. Let's see if Tuesday's notes will cover some of these. You can even mention it in class on Tuesday. And I'll be like, great, that problem is going to be covered today. Those problems are going to be covered on Thursday. So you know. And at the end of Thursday's class, we're going to say, hey, I still don't understand how to do this problem. I'm like, great, let's talk about it. I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. Because bottom line is that on Thursday, when you leave this class, I want all those questions answered so that you have a day to just take care of it, submit it. Okay? And I would tell you, try to get it done while you're in school because you know the Wi-Fi is good and get it submitted. Rather than 5:55, you're in the States and trying to submit it and you're like, oops, internet just went out. Okay? Any other questions here? Nada. None at all. Are we sure? And under every single one of these weeks is going to tell you when the exam is. So week 1 is going to tell you when the exam is. If we go to week 2, it's going to tell you when the exam is. right? So week 1 is going to say exam is on September, September 5th. Week 2 is going to say, hey, exam 1 is on September 5th. And then week 3 is going to say, hey, exam is on September 5th. Okay? And then week 4 obviously is going to say exam 2 stuff. And if you guys notice, another reason why I want you guys to use the home page is because you know exactly which weeks are the exam weeks. In fact, you're going to know what day your final exam is as well. So you can click on final exam and you'll know exactly when your final exam is going to be. So none of you guys can say to me, I didn't know there was an exam. None of you guys can say that. Okay? Now, so let me click on exam 1 here. So a couple of things. Typically on exam week, you have no MLM. Woohoo! But on top of that, you have an optional lab work. The optional lab work is A, B, C, and D. Okay? Those all occur during exam weeks. A, B, C, and D. The lab work is optional. You should do it. So to dangle the carrot in front of you, this is what I tend to do. The optional lab work, if you're doing better than your lowest grade, other lab work grades, it will replace that lab work grade. Okay? So you have 4 lab works that you can do that will replace other lab work grades. Okay? So that's optional. The other thing that's optional is the review for the exam. You're welcome to do it. I'm going to guess in the 3 truths, someone is going to say, do the freaking review. I don't really read the 3 truths, so I have no idea. But I'm going to guess that someone said that. If you ask any of my past students, they're going to tell you, do the freaking review. And if you decide not to do the review, that is certainly fine. No big deal. But I'm going to ask you guys to do this. If you decide not to do the review, after you take exam 1, and you take exam 1 back home, I want you to open the review. And I want you to compare it to the review. While you're comparing it, I want you to start putting your fingers, curl it in to make a fist as hard as you can. Turn it towards your schnoz. As you're reviewing it, start punching yourself square in the schnoz until you realize and start to say to yourself, you freaking idiot, should have done the review. Okay? All right. Well, I guess this won't load, so let me download it really quick and open it. So this review, this is the review for exam 1. You guys don't have access to it yet. How many questions did I say was on the exam? Someone did catch that. Huh, this review has 25 questions. Interesting. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. It has nothing to do with it. Just a coincidence. All right? So you're welcome to do a review. If you don't want to, that's certainly fine. But again, remember the fist. All right, so the review is set up 2 ways. One as a PDF, and this is actually set up as a quiz. So when the review is available on... Ooh, I got to fix that. It's already closed. Sorry, guys. No, it should open up. Wow. It should open up a week. When was the exam again? September 5th. So it's going to open up a week and a day before that. So let's fix that right now. Yes, I see that. May, June, July, August, September 5th, you said. So a week before that, 28th. I don't think I need that. Okay. So it'll be available August 28th. All right? No, it is set up as a quiz. So I would strongly suggest that when it opens up on August 28th, that what you would do is you would clear off your desk, put the notes away, have your calculator that you're going to use, no matter if it's Desmos or your TI, scrap paper, and just start doing the quiz. Okay? Why do I suggest that over doing the PDF? Why wouldn't I just do the PDF? So here's my question to you. If you do the PDF and you get the first problem done, what do you usually do? You're going to see if it's right. Is it right? And you do the second problem. Is it right? Do the third problem. Is it right? Right? That's fair? Guess what? You won't be able to do that during the exam, can you? And because of the unknown, if you got it right or not, it's going to build some anxiety. After the first one, it might be this. After the second one, after the third one, after the fourth one, your anxiety is just going to keep on building. After 25 questions, man, you're going to blow up, right? So that's the reason why I tell you guys to take it as a quiz, because with the quiz, you won't know until the end, right? And again, it's optional, so it's not going to be against you. You can get 100 on it. Who cares? It doesn't raise your grade. You get a 0 on it. Guess what? Who cares? It doesn't lower your grade. It's for your sake of what you know and what you don't know. Once you take it as a quiz, then I would tell you, go ahead and print out the PDF, and then circle the ones that you got wrong. And say, okay, these are the problems I need to look for. I need more practice on these type of problems. Okay? So that you can be successful on the exam. All right? Any questions on that? None? Are we sure? No questions at all. All right. Are we sure? So we're ready for notes? All right. These over here. Let's share this. Oh. Hey. All right, here we go. So maybe this is not too far below you. So every time we write a point, x comma y, it's a relation, right? The x is an independent variable, or the input, and the y is the dependent variable, or the output, also known as domain and range, right? So in this class, we're our tendency is not going to be looking for a lot of ranges. We're looking for some range, but not a lot of range. Oh, by the way, guys, just so you guys know, for the ones that have had me before, they already know this. And just so you guys know at home and you guys know here that have never had me before, even though if you guys are not necessarily adults yet, but you guys want to be treated as one, I'm going to treat everybody like adults. What does that mean? It means that, like myself, I make decisions every single day. And I have to live with those consequences every single day. Make sense? So when you guys come in late, there's no reason to yell at you. You made an adult decision. You could have been late because you decided to. You could have been late because of other circumstances. It happens, right? So there's no sense in yelling at you because here's the reason. Here's the big part. Is there a chance that I'm going to be late? Absolutely. Doesn't mean that you should yell at me. Why should I have a double standard? So every single time something happens to me on the outside world, I always ask myself, would I have done the same thing? So when a car pulls out in front of me or cuts me off, would I have done the same thing? If I would have done the same thing, then I don't have the right to judge anybody else. If I'm going to be late to class and you're late, no place to judge. I might make fun, I might do that, but no place to judge. So if you guys don't want to do homework, don't do homework. Right? Don't want to take notes? Don't take notes. Whatever you don't want to do, make those decisions. Make your adult decisions. The only thing I ask is that at the end of the semester, if you decide to fail this class, don't say it's Chan's fault. In fact, when you ace this class, I never say it's my fault either. You say thank you, I said no need. You did the work. Because you did do the work. You made those decisions. Okay? All right. So back to this. I know that you guys needed some time as well. So again, we typically do not look for ranges. We're going to be talking about mostly about domains. The things that usually restrict the domain is typically two things that we currently talk about. There is a third thing though that you guys learned in college algebra if you guys were in college algebra. The two things that immediate comes up is a fraction and a radical. In fractions, the denominator cannot equal to 0. In radicals, the radicand cannot be negative. Right? Cannot be negative. So the radicand has to be greater than or equal to 0. What the heck is a radicand? What's a radicand? What's inside the house is a radicand. This is the radical. I know it doesn't really look like it. But there's the radical. What's inside the house, inside the radical, is your radicand. Okay? So inside the house has to be greater than or equal to 0. This applies for all even roots. Okay? That means the index or the root has to be even. Square root, fourth root, sixth root, and so on and so forth. But if there was no fraction and no radicals and no logs, then the domain would be all reals or negative infinity to positive infinity. Make sense? So, let's take a look. What's my domain in the first example there? X cannot be what? X can be 0. Can be 12? Beautiful. So what we would typically do is take the denominator, because what we know is that the denominator cannot equal to 0. Because what happens if the denominator was equal to 0?
If it equals
equals 0, then it will be undefined.
The fraction will be undefined. That means it never exists. So many things I want to say. My mind is awful. All right, so on the left side there, we can factor, right? Now, we can do it two ways here. We can do it with the square root property. Do we remember what the heck the square root property was? Square root property was this. So let me do it this way. All right, so if I was to do the square root property, that would be this. I get the x squared by itself. What's the opposite operation of a square? Square root. And if I take the square root of one side, I have to square root the other side. But in this case, because it's a square root property, what else has to occur? Uh-oh. And a crowd goes silent. What's missing? Thank you, the plus and minus. That's why it's all the square root property. Because it's saying if you introduce the square root into it, into a problem, you have to include the plus and minus. Okay? So this is the reason why this answer here is going to say x cannot equal to plus or minus 12. Okay? That's using the square root property. The other way would be through factoring, how we learned initially. Which in this case, you will factor the x squared minus 144, which is called the what? The difference of two squares. Awesome. So you got x minus 12, x plus 12 cannot equal to 0. So x cannot be 12, x cannot be negative 12. Right? Both are talking about the same thing. So therefore, my domain is that x cannot be plus or minus 12. How do I write that in interval notation? And the crowd goes silent. So let's think about this. You guys actually know how to do this. You just don't realize you know how to do this yet. Okay? So if I'm correct, at negative 12 and at positive 12, there will be a circle. Everybody agree with that? And then everything else works. Is that fair? So if I was to draw a number line, that's what it would look like, right? So how would I draw that, write that in interval notation? So I got three parts. I got this left part, I got the center part, I got the right part. The left part would be what in interval notation? Where is it pointing from? Awesome. Can I touch it? Nope. So parentheses, it goes to negative 12, right? Can I touch negative 12? Nope. Union with negative 12 to 12. Can't touch 12. Union with 12 to infinity. Voila. There's my domain in interval notation. Does that make sense? So sometimes drawing that number line helps us to come up with the interval notation easier. I see the three parts. I just got to name that, name that, name that. I'm done. Is that fair? Questions? No questions? Hocus Docus? Yes? Ooh. I will answer that question with this problem. I'm so glad you brought that up because this problem is going to address that. Beautiful. It's like I paid her money. All right. So in this next example, we have a radical. So the question in class was, what was the difference between touching versus not touching? And I said that we will address that with this problem here. And I want you guys to notice something. She asked a question. I hope that you guys realize how angry I got and how demeaning I was, right? And belittling I was. All right, so about this problem. People at home are like, I didn't hear that. All right, so what is this domain? What's the restriction here? Don't all answer at once. I'll be so confused. So what is that? The radicand? Awesome. Has to be positive or? Can I take the square root of 0? Try on a calculator. It is 0, right? So I can take 0. So this has to be greater than or equal to 0. Because sometimes we do have to do that, right? We got to put it in the calculator just to say, yes, got it. Makes sense, right? And it's okay to do that. All right. So there's no square root property here, yes? This is just going to be 3x is greater than or equal to 24. X is greater than or equal to 8. When do I flip that inequality?
When you divide or multiply both sides by a negative number.
Beautiful. It's not because the number is negative. It's when you multiply or divide by a negative number is when the inequality will switch. Okay? So if you gotta put that note down, put that note down. So here, if I was to make a number line, I will have a closed circle at 8 and point it to the right. Is that right? So how do I write that in interval notation? Don't all say it at once. Does it touch 8? Did that help your question? Because I can touch 8, that's why it's going to be a square bracket. Because I can't touch infinity, that's why it's going to be parentheses. Okay? Now, with intermediate algebra, every time they had a number, it was touching, so it was always a square bracket. Every time it was infinity, it was always a parentheses. Now, in this class, you're going to have points where numbers are going to either have a square bracket or a parentheses. So there are going to be times, which you guys already experienced with the problem above. Sorry, apparently I offended someone. They left. Or they just lost their internet because they're living in the States and I hear the thunder. So we've already experienced where numbers not necessarily always going to have a square bracket, right? With the last problem, we had 12. It didn't touch 12. It used a parentheses. Now, infinity, we can never touch because that's why Buzz Lightyear says to infinity and beyond, because it's beyond. Okay? Any questions on that? All right. What about this one? Now what? We got a radical in the denominator of a fraction. How do I deal with that? Awesome. Why did he say it has to be? That looks like a coffin. Sorry, guys. So he said the x minus 4, if it was a radical, it'd be greater than or equal to 0. But he says I have to get rid of the equal. ¿Por qué? You know why. Go ahead. Because it's a denominator, so we got to take the 0 away, right? That's why it can't equal to 0. Make sense? So that's why the equal sign has to be taken away. Because if I took the square root of 0, it'd be 0, and it'd be a denominator of a fraction, which would make the fraction undefined. So that's why we can't have that. So this would say, x is greater than 4. And the domain would be what? So me trying to do this was for a reason. Is to let you guys realize that that number line really does help, right? Because the previous one, because we wrote the number line, writing the interval notation was a lot easier. Now, for some of you guys got this. Then maybe the number line is not necessary for you. All right? You need to do what you need to do to be successful. Don't worry about what other people are doing to be successful. Okay? Any questions so far? Nothing. Okay, so back in intermediate algebra and college algebra, you guys had a chance to talk about if something was a function or not when you were given points and when you're given a graph. Points were easy, right? Points were, if the x repeated, then it's not a function. And if you took 2 points at the same x value, that would create a vertical line. So that's why I came up with a vertical line test for graphs. If it didn't pass the vertical line test, then it's not a function. So now we are going beyond that. We're not talking about points or a graph anymore. We have to take an equation and say, is that a function or not? Okay? Now, some of you guys can say, oh, that's quick. I got a graphing calculator. I can just graph it and I can see. True, true. But in the lab work, you can't do that. Right? The lab work, you got to show the work. So you still need to know how to do that. So how will we do that for that to happen? Okay? And don't worry, we'll do a problem. You're like, that sounds Chinese to me. Now, for the ones that never had me before, in those 2 classes, when I talked about function with points and graph, I talked about food poisoning. 1 input having 2 outputs, right? So if anybody ever had food poisoning, you had 1 input through the mouth, and you had 2 outputs, 1 out of your mouth and 1 out of the other end, okay? So that would be saying that my body is not functioning. And that is when the x repeats, right? Input, output, input, output. Same input, different outputs. Okay? So this says if we're given a function, first solve for y. If any x give you more than 1 y, then it's not a function. What the heck does that mean? Well, let's put it into action here. So here's an example. So it says first solve for y. Okay, so let's solve for y. So x minus 5 would equal to y squared. True? Okay. So what do I have to do to get y by itself? I have to do it to one side, I got to do it to the other. But what am I missing here? Plus minus. Beautiful. So let's pick an x. Give me an x value. 2. Oh boy, that's not gonna work. Let's do something higher than a 5. 10. Awesome. So if I use 10 for my x, how many y values will I get? How many y values would I get? So, again, if x equaled 10, how many y values would I get? Y is going to equal to what? Huh? Very close. Isn't that the case right there? Do you see how the x repeated? And this is what it means by saying if any x give you more than one y, because this x equals 10 is going to give me 2 different y values. 1 input, 2 outputs. So this is like food poisoning. So this right here is not a function. Since 1x gave me 2 different y values. Does that make sense? Ask your questions. No questions? None? Are we sure? We're really sure. No questions. None whatsoever. Yes. No. Because essentially, so the summary of this is going to be this. Whenever you solve, okay. So one of the things that you guys are going to learn is this. If y is, so if I had an x and y in an equation, that means I have a diagonal line. Y equals mx plus b. Everybody agree? So I have an x to the first degree, y to the first degree, I have a diagonal line. If I have only y, I'm going to have a horizontal line. If I have only x, I have a vertical line. If I have a y to the first degree and x to the second degree, I have a parabola. Could be a smiley face, could be a frowny face. This right here, the x is to the first degree, the y is to the second degree. What does that mean? A sideways parabola. So therefore, I already know it's not a function. Make sense? Now, if we look at this equation here, anytime we see a plus and minus, we know the fact that it's not going to be a function. The plus and minus is that giveaway, especially after we solve for y. Now, if I have x is squared and y is squared, and their addition, I'll have a circle or ellipse. If it's x squared and y squared and it's subtraction, I'll have, well, this is kind of weird, a hyperbola. That means it looks like 2 parabolas facing away from each other. Okay? So those are the things that we're going to learn as we're going along, that we kind of need to know, okay, y squared, x is not, I got a sideways parabola. It could be facing one way or the other. All right? So those are the things that we're going to learn. But in this case, summary-wise, if we solve for y and we got a plus and minus, that giveaway is not a function. If we don't have that plus or minus, it's going to be a function. We're going to be okay. So that's the only dead giveaway. Now, can the initial one help? Yes. If I only had x and y squared, it's going to be a dead giveaway. But what if it was y to the third? And I have a y squared. Is that going to be a dead giveaway? That's not. That's when we kind of have to do some work. Okay? So, if there's no other questions, then we're going to end it here. So just so you guys know, so week 1 you had 3.1, 3.2. So all of those should be reviewed. So everything here is kind of review. But still, please feel free to ask questions because not everybody's from my classes. Now, do I expect my students to know this like the back of their hand? I do expect it, but let's be honest. All of us tend to forget things at some point in time, especially if you left me for like 2 years and then came back to my class. So anyways, ladies and gentlemen, please have a wonderful, blessed day. Please be safe. Love you guys. I will see you guys on Thursday. Later.